Hi, I'm Harold Lanier with Lanier Bee Barn, and we're going to do a hive inspection today, and I've got my friend Howard Smith. He's going to help me out. So first thing we want to do is get our equipment together. Some of it we may need, sometimes not, but if you have it all together in one place at one time, that's a real good idea. That's called a pro tip, so you don't go running back and forth to the barn finding what you left back there. So normally I don't smoke my bees unless they need it, but I always light the smoker to have it ready, and that way if I do need it, I just reach for it. So let's talk a little bit about lighting the smoker. So I have a little can here that I keep my fire stuff in. I've got fire tabs to start it with if I just want a little bit of quick smoke. These last like maybe 2 minutes. I also have wood pellets. So since I have a large number of hives, many times I'll light the fire with pine straw, and then I'll put a handful of these pellets in there. Those last a lot longer. So we're going to take just a little bit of straw. You don't need a lot to get it started. And I wrap it up like this. And so there's pretty much an art to lighting a smoker. It's one of the more difficult things to do. Just when you think you've got it lit, you don't, and you have to restart it. Here is a pro tip. You can light it with this, or you can light it with this. This makes a big difference. So this one we're going to turn on, put it down in there, and we're going to get a good fire going. Puff the bellows a bit. Another good pro tip is to never look down inside there and puff the bellows. You won't have any eyebrows left. Alright, so I take my hive tool, kind of get things down. Let it burn just a little bit. You don't try to pack it too tight or the fire will go out. So we're going to puff it a little bit and make sure it's running good, because if you don't let it burn good, once you get started, it'll go out before you know it. Alright, another good tip is to put your stuff all back together, put the lid on, because you're going to leave it off sometime, it's going to rain, and you're going to have rain in there. It doesn't light well after it's wet. This is my toolbox that I made. This is actually a 5-frame newt box. It's made such that I can dump all the contents out, put frames in it, and capture a swarm if I needed to. So inside, I've just got some basic stuff like gloves and a whole bunch of other contents in there. Marking pins to mark the queens, little queen catcher. I keep some spare beetle traps and a bunch of little miscellaneous stuff. One of the really good tips for you guys is I always carry a flashlight. There are days just like today where the sun is not quite as direct and I need a little more light. That's helpful. Also, I keep magnifying glass, so if I can't quite see what I need to see, this will be helpful. Sharpie, making notes or writing on the hives themselves. Various other little small things that help out quite a lot. So another thing we want to do today, also this holds my hive tools over on this side, like that, and then my brush on that side. So today I don't think we're going to need a brush, but we're going to definitely need a hive tool. Wear our personal protection gear. I don't normally wear gloves, but that's a decision that you'll make, be kind of up to you as to how comfortable you feel. Every time you think about it, just give your smoker a puff or two, and we want to keep it running. All right. So let's get the lid on here. So another pro tip is to put your glasses on before you put your hood on and all that other stuff. In case you guys hadn't figured this out yet, when I say pro tip, that means I'm trying to help you avoid something that I've done, whether it's good, bad, or whatever. All right. So now we've got a small nuke over here that we're going to take a look at. It'll be easy for us to look into and to find all the bees and things that we want to see.
I'll take the box.
So we're going to, no, we won't need that. We'll be fine. All right. So typically you want to work your hives from behind. And there are a couple reasons for that. The main reason is that if we work it from in front, then we're going to be in our bees' flight path. We're going to be in their way. So this way, if they're up in the front, I'm not disturbing that traffic and they keep working and doing whatever they're going to do. So when we do a hive inspection, we know we need to have a reason for looking in there. You don't want to keep going in day after day after day after day just messing with the bees. You need a reason. You want to see how they're growing. You want to see if the queen is still laying eggs. You want to see if you have maybe a mite infestation or small hive beetles. Okay? So you have a reason when we go in here to take a look. So we're going to pry our lid off gently. We don't want to use quick motions, and we don't want to bang stuff around if we can help it. I don't normally smoke my bees. I only smoke them if they're going to be a little angry, and you won't know that until we open it up. But on a nice day like today, you see how they're nice and calm and everybody's doing well. First thing I look at is the top of the inner cover. So I'm looking for small hive beetles. I'm looking for any other kind of pests or insects that are a problem. I'm looking at how the bees are working. These are not agitated, they're nice. So one thing also to notice, there's a little spider web right in there. I used to clear those out, but now I leave them. The spiders tend to catch some of the smaller things like ants or other bugs, so I just leave them in there. So I'm going to set this down. A lot of times I'll set it down in front, because if there's bees on there, if they want to, they know how to get back into their hive. All right, so we're going to take a look at our frames. So normally our frames are pressed together, centered on both sides. And so now I have to pick one to start with to look at. So what I don't want to do is start in the middle. Some people like to start with the second frame. I don't know. I always start with the first frame. So I'll separate it. And this is a small nucleus colony that I'm setting up that is just now growing and doing very well. So they have not built out yet on the outer two frames. So we're going to pull one of those out. And you'll see some bees on there that'll be beginning to start messing with building a little comb. But these haven't really started yet. We're going to set them down. And now I have room to work, so I can pry these two apart. Notice I'm moving fairly slowly and gently. And one other thing to notice is that you always want to put your frames back in the exact same order, because they will build comb. One side might be convex and the frame beside it concave to match. And if you start turning them around in the wrong order, in the wrong direction, then you'll press those combs together, squish bees, and make a mess. You always want to put them in the back in the same way. Now, my personal habit is I use a technique I call, depending on which side I'm looking at, whichever hand is grabbing the long side, that side is where I usually put my left hand. So I think of it this way: left is long. So I'm reaching long. So when I pull it out and I examine this frame, when I get ready to put it back, I go, well, do I go this way? No. Left is long, and I'll put it back in that order right there. If I'm working from sort of this angle, I may switch, but try to remember to put it all back in the same order. So let's take a look and see what we see here today. I'm looking at a beautiful frame. These girls are just working this. It's going to be real hard to see. I don't know if we can put it on the camera to actually see eggs. But all I see here right now is a whole pile of worker bees. These are just the female worker bees. And everything for the most part is, there's eggs in every cell in here. So let me see if I can open one up.
Want me to hold the light on it?
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Let's see if, that's not going to help too much. I don't know if the camera can zoom in well enough. That cell to the left is one that's got an egg in it. I don't know if you can zoom all the way in and see that little egg. Eggs are extremely tiny. They look like a tiny white, almost like a piece of debris. Did you get that, or is it too tiny? It's going to be hard to tell, guys, without seeing it in person. But this whole frame is full of eggs. Now notice the bees are nice and calm, and I can touch them and move them around to see what I want to see. If they're all congregated in one little spot and you want to know what's going on, you can just touch them. These bees, for the most part, are your worker bees and nurse bees. They are not guard bees, so they don't feel threatened, and they get bumped into all the time. So when you bump them with a finger, they just move out of the way and go about their business. Let's see what we see on this side. We got more bees and lots more eggs. This whole frame is full of eggs. I don't see any drones here, so let's look further and see if we can find some drones. Here we go. All right. So now we're looking at a beautiful, beautiful frame of capped brood. This is capped worker brood. You see how nice and flat it is, and you see how dark it is. The color will also tell you how old it is. So this is not a light color, it's more darker brown. That means it's older, and probably within about 3 or 4 days, all of this is going to hatch. Okay, there's your drone right there. Big old fat boy. Big old fat drone. Notice the drone, how he's got a big fat butt and he's got big eyes. That's telltale signs of the drone. Worker bees, their tail is more pointed. If you look at her right here, she's a lot more pointed, and her eyes don't meet in the middle. Okay? So this is capped brood.
Right there, you see the one with the pollen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good... So this one, where's she at? There she is, right there. She's full of pollen. Her pollen baskets are full, and she's looking for a place to kick it off. So she'll back into a cell and kick that pollen down into that cell. She'll go back to look for some more, and then another one of the bees, her job is to pack it. And she'll come in, add a little bit of honey, and pack it in there. Then it becomes fermented, and that's what we call bee bread. If you see pollen, there she goes. If you see pollen coming into your hive, that's a good sign, because they need the pollen to raise their babies. They're making babies if they're bringing in pollen. Let's watch her for a moment and just see if we see her kick it off. There you go. Drop it off. Drop it off. Nope, that wasn't good enough. All right, there she goes. Oh, nope. That's just like a woman can't make up her mind, I guess. Come on, that looks good enough, don't it? Just kick it and go. Oh well. We don't know how long it's going to take, so we won't watch any further. All right, so also what I'd like to notice here, let's look at this frame again. Come up close here and let's look. We also see some uncapped brood in there. I don't know, can you see that in there? It's a white milky food that they feed them, and the larvae are growing in there. We call that milk brood.
See it?
So that's what it looks like after the eggs hatch. And as it grows, and about day 9 is when they'll put a capping over the top of it. Lots of milk brood right there. All right, no queen on this side. So we've seen workers and we've seen drones. So So let's hope we see the queen on this frame. Take a look. No queen on that side. Here we go. Here's our queen.
So if you hold it up a little bit in the light where it's low.
There's our beautiful queen right there. That's the last year's queen. She's marked with a green paint. So she is doing her job well. She keeps looking around for a place to lay. Constantly looking for a place to lay. And she's pretty much filled up all of these. So there she goes right there, laying an egg. Right there. Right there. Beautiful. Good girl. That was it. So a good strong queen, when the nectar flow is going good and the bees, and she has plenty of room to lay, a good queen can lay about 1,500 to 2,000 eggs a day. So they can fill up an entire frame if we make it available. There she goes again, laying another one. So she's just, yep, that's all it took. Let's see if she'll drop another one for us while we're looking.
Let's go to the other side. So she can find.
There she goes.
That might be a big one there.
Good job. Good job. All right, which way does this frame go back in?
Left long.
Left is long, right back in. Then we're going to put our frames together. Put our other one back in. Then I want to press all my frames together and then center them in the box. So we didn't need our smoker today, but sometimes if the box is full and you got bees flowing over, you can actually try to puff them back in. You can sweep them with your hand or use a bee brush and get all the bees back in place. So now we're going to put our lids back on. And I got a few girls wanting to get to the edge, so I'll just brush them back. And that's it. Now, the ideal, here's another pro tip. The ideal thing to do now is to get my piece of paper and make my note that I inspected on this day. This is what I found. So I found my queen. She was laying eggs. I had eggs on 3 frames. I got some cat brood. I got some milk brood. There's honey stores in there, and everything looks good for this colony. So if it needed something later, maybe to add a super, they were full, you make a note of that. Or if you needed to do a split, this would be, later a candidate. But this particular hive is not ready for that yet. But what my little tabs indicate to me, when I put that in there, that tells me in this direction, in front of the jar, I have a queen. And if I were back here, it'd be a very weak colony. Here's a little stronger, little stronger, little stronger, very strong. So this girl is right about here, I guess. And I can at a glance just tell from here that I have a queen and that colony has some measure of strength, but it's not a full colony, okay? So that's kind of it. On your inspections, you want to have a purpose and then methodically go through there, take a look at things, work slowly, and you don't have to worry about the bees getting very angry with you. If they are a little bit angry, always have your smoker ready, and as you can see, it's almost already gone out. That's why you want to light it and make sure it's working real good before you start. So that's it. Whatever questions that you guys have, just let me know, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
See you.